News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Would you like to hear our possible new next president of the United States of America, Kamala, speaking today? How'd you like to have that?
Well, helped us win in 2020. And in 2024, we will win again. I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week.
Oh, boy. Woo, woo, woo. And the media, oh, wow. She is so absolutely incredible.
I kind of fell in love with her. I thought she was smart, engaging. She's funny, feisty, twinkle in your eye.
What is this strange feeling? It's like my blood is flowing again.
The excitement is palpable.
There was just an incredible level of excitement and support for her.
Kamala Harris has had the single best first day of any presidential candidate in history.
They've switched it up. It's going to be a southpaw now. Rocky's a southpaw. Don't go into Rocky. It's my best Burgess Meredith, folks. For children scared this morning, go back and see Rocky.
All right, here's what's going to happen right now. We're going to have a honeymoon. Not you and me. We don't like her, most of us, but we're going to have a honeymoon. She's going to have a honeymoon for the next day, 2, 3, 4. I'll tell you what the polls are. I'll get into what the latest on that are. And hint, what we have is not good for her, but there are some that are good for her. And you're going to see a honeymoon for the next 24 to 48 hours, maybe even 72 hours or more. But eventually, what's going to happen with her is the same thing that happens every time with her. She is terrible in interviews. She is although she is just being leg humped by everybody in the media. She is terrible in interviews. She is a terrible campaigner. And I think my friend Eric Erickson described it best in his blog today. She comes across as a dad's new girlfriend trying hard to be cool to the teenagers. It's awkward at every time. She's a lousy candidate. She approaches people by belittling them and talking down to them. She is not good on the campaign trail. And by God's grace, she has 3.5 months. Number 2, there's not been one vote cast for her. In fact, the Wall Street Journal writing a piece today about how she literally has pretty much been installed at every single point in her entire career by Willie Brown in the beginnings of her career, who she had an affair with apparently while he was married. By Barack Hussein Obama, who came and campaigned for her as Attorney General for California, and by Joe Biden, and now by the Democrat Party, coronated. Not one vote for her. And so that's dangerous because she has not been through the grinder. In fact, she started to go through the grinder 4 years ago against Joe Biden. What happened? She didn't even get one. She dropped out before she even got one primary vote. Isn't that amazing? Not even one primary vote. In heavily black South Carolina, she received, do you know what the number she received in South Carolina, the percentage of the vote she got? Before she dropped out, here's what the percentage was of the approval by blacks in South Carolina, heavily black South Carolina.
0.0.
She didn't even have 0.0001 approval in of any of the vote in heavily black South Carolina. So now you're going to have the kingmaker, what's his name, from South Carolina, James Clyburn, the kingmaker, literally one of the most powerful Democrats in the country, come out, and everybody's rallying around her. But the problem is she going to excite people beyond the base? The base is super excited. That's great. But you have a terrible candidate. The question is, can they hide her like they've hidden Joe? The moment she does serious interviews, all she's going to do is cackle at serious, uncomfortable things that she can't have discussions with. And one of the great points I read today, I think was from the Journal, was that the great former Prime Minister of England, Margaret Thatcher, never cackled or giggled at anything they wrote. Not once. She didn't giggle about anything. Did you remember her giggling or cackling? No, she was one of the strongest leaders, if not the strongest female leader we ever had in the world, and is revered to this day, rightfully so. I want to ask you a few questions. Do you feel what the Democrats have done is unconstitutional? I asked you that yesterday, but I want to ask it again today because I think it's critical. Is it a threat to democracy? Do you feel that what the Democrats have done is unconstitutional? And do you feel like we were catfished? That is a great, great, great question, isn't it? You know what catfishing is? Catfishing is when the younger generation goes online, or even the older generation goes online to look for a date. And it looks like a gorgeous, drop-dead hottie, guy or girl. And then when you meet them in person, they're nasty, ugly, or have 3 eyes, or you know what growing out of their forehead. If you want to know if I'm nasty and ugly and have a you-know-what growing on my forehead, or if I have 3 eyes, what you can do is watch me live on Facebook Live right now at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrock. Behold, see if I'm nasty ugly. Maybe I have a face for radio. But right now, I want to hear from you. Do you feel the Democrats have what they've done is unconstitutional? Is it a threat to democracy? Do you feel like we were catfished? Regarding switcheroo and voted for Joe and got her? Do you think the Democrats will see this and be offended by this? Like their own party, like, dude, you can't force somebody on us. We didn't vote for her. Do you think it'll cost the Democrats votes from their own party because the elites are installing their preferred candidate? Do you see that? The billionaire and multimillionaire, rich, wealthy donors stopped to Joe. And actually today I read a report that said $97 million of the first, this money. Kamala raised $81 million the first day. Oh, she's got 200 and something million. 97 million of that was reportedly given to her from Joe's campaign. So she didn't earn that. It was just shuffled over to her. And last month it was so anemic with Joe Biden trying to raise money that there was almost nothing. Katzenberg told him, the head of his campaign, Jeffrey Katzenberg, the Hollywood mogul. And so Kamala got all the money the donors were going to give to Joe, but they held back because they're like, you can't win. So the elites have put her in power. And if you were Trump, this is critical. I got to hear from you on this. If you were Trump, what would you say in a debate with Kamala? How do you think she'll attack Trump? I want to hear what you think Trump will do to attack her, what would be effective, and what she will do to attack Trump. I'll tell you what she's doing also coming up next. And do you think the Democrats will want to replace Kamala in a month? As my buddy Eric Erickson wrote, they're probably going to want to replace her in a month after we get all the taste of her anew. Remember they tried to, our number's 800-288-WBAP. Chime in right now. We got lines wide open right now. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you remember how they kept doing reboots of her? Literally, remember this? Like every 6 months, they're like, they reintroduced her in the media, like, oh, she's being rebooted. She's going back out. They're sending her back out. And it was, 4 to 6 times over a 4-year period. And what happened? Nothing changed. Do you honestly think, now the media is going to hump her leg for weeks, months, and they're going to try to get her elected, even though she's a disaster, and we know it. But will the American people figure that out? Have they figured it out? The polling of her was pretty bad, honestly, as we all know. She was worse than Joe, worse than Trump until recently. She'll have her glowing period for the next couple of days. But a few interviews and a few cackles and a few embarrassing things, and all it'll take is 1 or 2 videos. And they'll remember who this woman is, and she continues to introduce herself and continues to be repackaged and continues to fail and fail and fail and fail. When you're constantly coronated, the Journal wrote today, and you've never been challenged, then how do you have anything? When she ran for Attorney General of the state of California and Barack Hussein Obama endorsed her, Governor Gavin Newsom, listen to this. Governor Gavin Newsom won by 1 point. He was lieutenant governor at the time, running for lieutenant governor. He won by 1.1 million votes. You know how many votes she won by that same campaign? 70,000. So look at that. 70,000 for the cackler for her first statewide election as Attorney General. 70,000 she won by. It may have even been 20,000, but it was very narrow. And the same election for Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, 1.1 million. There's your difference right there. 70,000 in liberal, deep blue California. She only got 22,000 or 70,000, somewhere around there. Just won versus Gavin Newsom in that same election winning with 1.1 million. There's the likeness of her. That's why she has to always be installed. Up next, how she's going to attack Trump and how Trump's going to attack her. Buzz in Dallas, you're first out of the box. We have two lines open. Chime in right now, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. On the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make that a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Here's what it is Trump should say, you on your platform for president in 2019 voted to or supported banning fracking in Pennsylvania. That would have killed Pennsylvania, which is a huge part of fracking. Number two, you bailed out people for St. George Floyd when he died of a drug overdose. St. George Floyd, blessed be his name. You bailed out, you donated money to a fund and you put it on your Facebook page. The Minnesota Freedom Fund raised $36 million. It released two men who would go on to murder people after they were released, thanks to you, Kamala. And also one man who would go on to rape a woman after he was released, thanks to you, Kamala. That's what you support. Number two, you declined to do the death penalty for a police officer, a man who killed a police officer in 2004. You were rebuked by the liberal late Senator Dianne Feinstein. She rebuked you for that. Number three, you left a man in death row until you were forced by the state to introduce evidence that was exculpatory, that saved him and got him off death row. Number three, you threw like 1,500 black men in jail for marijuana. When you were asked about, do you use marijuana, you laughed about it while they rotted away in jail, and you ruined their records. So many things about her. You voted for the Green New Deal, and you supported a bill for the Green New Deal when you were a senator. You have no principles. You said you were for banning fracking, then you changed your mind when it counted. You say you were for the new Green Deal. I bet you're going to say you aren't now. It's interesting, very interesting. Now, what she'll do to him is say she already is. I'm a former prosecutor. She's going to say this, by the way. Get prepared, even though it's false. You're a rapist. You are a convicted felon. And that's where you belong in jail. They were chanting, lock him up today at her rally. You heard her going nuts at, and the crowd going nuts at in West Allis, Wisconsin, which is a suburb of Milwaukee. Okay? And she said, Milwaukee is a critical. The road to the White House goes through Wisconsin. All right. Those are some of the things you're going to see and how to attack and such. But let's go to you. Questions are, do you feel what the Democrats have done is unconstitutional? Is this a threat to democracy? Do you feel like we were catfished with Joe Biden? I read the 13-page, it's the longest piece I've ever read in my life, I think, 13-page Wall Street Journal article that's behind a paywall, but I subscribed, so I read the whole thing about 3.5 years of literally covering up Biden's infirmaries. So Kamala, every day, here's another thing, every day she met with Trump. So, no. Excuse me, it's Biden, first of all. Every week she had lunch with him. And she lied. She told us as recently as a month or so ago that he's great. There's nothing wrong. You covered up. You lied. And what did you know? Just like the case that brought down Richard Nixon. What did you know? And when did you know it? By the way, a lot of the stuff I've been mentioning is not from the Journal. It's from the Free Press. Great lengthy column they wrote today, too. Let's go to your calls at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Also, do you think Democrats will want to replace her in a month, as my buddy Eric Erickson says today, because she never is a good campaigner and she always falls apart? After we get another taste of her anew, will they want to replace her in a month? You watch. You watch that. And also, they're being warned. In 1968, Chicago is when Hubert Humphrey went in and got the nominee, and it blew up in their faces, and it went nuts, and Nixon won by a landslide. That could happen in 2004 in Chicago. Whoa, look at that. And guess who's going there? The jihadis. 30,000 of them are going to show up and burn stuff down and terrorize stuff. And guess what? Guess who supports them? The socialist mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. 3 lines open, 800-288-WBAP. Buzz in Dallas, you are on WBAP.
First, I do think they're going to regret putting her in there in about a month. I agree with that. But I do think what they're doing is constitutional. And the reason being is it's their party, it's their rules, and everybody still gets to vote on it. And it may turn all their Democratic voters off to her, but it's still they're going to have to vote whether they want her as president. So, no, I don't think it's unconstitutional.
Okay, now there's this. That's fair enough. That sounds like it very well could be accurate, obviously, but the question is, too, like, what do you don't know? It sounds like, because you're probably not a Democrat. I'm not either, but I wonder what an average Democrat thinks. Is this an offense to them, an affront to them, because they voted for Joe and then they were given this by rich, liberal, and powerful people?
I don't think many people voted for Joe. They voted against Trump, and they thought Joe was their best hope to get it done. So I don't think Joe was their first choice, but they really weren't given a choice because they had blocked everybody else out.
That's right. I read about that, too, in a lengthy piece today as well. Like, they wouldn't let, what's his name, the Minnesota moderate Democrat from suburban Minneapolis, St. Paul, get on the ballot. They shut him out. They shut out anybody to compete with Joe in Florida. So, I mean, it was totally rigged. Yeah.
You reap what you sow, and hopefully the Democrats will realize that. And I think that Trump is going to win by a landslide.
I hope so, but we don't know. You never know. Appreciate your call. Chuck and McKinney, you're on WBAP. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So I do think what the Democrats are doing right now is wrong and will bite them. I think Obama is going to put Michelle in there so he can be a third-term president, and I think that's going to happen. I think that Trump should barbecue her on her record on the border. If she's a czar, where's
she was put in charge of the border. I've got an AP headline from when that happened that says exactly that.
And so I think Trump ought to just stay away from all the ugly stuff and just talk about what she didn't do. And he's there.
He's got to be prepared, though, because she's going to call him a rapist and a convicted felon. And I was telling my mom this. We talked today. It was her birthday. I called her. She's a Trump supporter, too. So in football, and if you're watching me on the Facebook Live feed, at Chris Crock Show, CHRISKROK, in football, when your guy comes at you and you're supposed to go face-to-face with him, as a defensive tackle or offensive tackle or whatever, when the guy comes at you, instead of fighting him, constantly butting up against him, if you want the quarterback, you do a swim move. So as you're going at him, you take your left hand and you put it on their left and their right shoulder, right? So it's on the same side as your left hand. You put it on their shoulder and you push them to the right and you swim over them and you keep going past them. That's what Trump's got to do in the debate. He's got to say, that was rigged. That case in New York was rigged. It was the number 3 at Justice Department left and prosecuted that, and it was a joke. Most CNN legal analysts all said it was a joke. Most liberal analysts have said it was a joke. So you rigged that. Number 2, that trial with E. Jean Carroll was funded by a Democrat mega donor, and that too was rigged. They were both in the Manhattan jury pool, who are 90% against me. It was rigged. And but you quickly do it. You don't get angry about it. You don't go back and forth, and then you immediately go into, you lied about Joe Biden's condition. When did you know, and what did you know, and when did you know it? You covered up for 3.5 years. You voted to ban fracking. Boom, boom, boom. All right, up next, I want to get into this. Is it possible that Joe Biden is literally signing legislation for Joe Biden right now? A report on that. And also, the New York Post says Biden has canceled 9 trips in the next week or two. And the same Biden team is kept in place for Kamala as Biden. So literally, who's in charge of our country? It ain't Joe. It ain't Kamala. That's next. All right, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800. I'd rather talk with no music. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. I got some really concerning reports here. I'll share them with you, kind of go boom, boom, boom. This is on my Twitter feed. You can see it for yourself and make your own decisions. At Chris Crock Show on Twitter. That's at Chris Crock Show, CHRISKROK. Couple different things on this. I'm going to play something for you that I retweeted. In a sec here. But there is a report today that came out from a group of guys with a well-listened-to podcast and a lot of sources. And they said today that it's possible that Nurse Jill may be signing some of these documents for Joe Biden. And I'll play you that in just a sec. But here's what the group said. Ruthless Podcast it says Joe Biden is signing her name on legislation. Josh Holmes notes that it could have been Ukraine-related legislation. And, of course, a reminder that Joe Biden is not a constitutional officer. Why is Jill signing legislation in addition to Joe Biden, or for Joe Biden, possibly? We'll get you more on that. That tip came out from my buddy Eric Erickson, who Rush Limbaugh quoted all the time. He's extremely followed. He has gatherings every year in Atlanta that have all the top people, Ron DeSantis, Governor Glenn Youngkin, you name it, everybody, the top people go to it and speak at it. Ted Cruz et al. So that is not something to be sneered at or ignored. Number two, the dossier today reporting, Jordan Schachtel, who I told you, investigative reporter, says exclusive Biden suffered an undisclosed medical emergency during his time in Las Vegas, police sources say. Today on Fox, on Martha McCallum's show, she hinted at this. She said there's a lot of stuff going around right now about Biden's health and that it's much more serious, possibly. She said the Daily Mail had some stuff, too. I looked at the Daily Mail today. I didn't see that on the radar, but she even mentioned this today. The dossier's Jordan Schachtel reporting since that trip to Las Vegas, Joe Biden announced he wouldn't seek a second term. The dossier, his publication, obtained an independent testimony from over a half dozen law enforcement officers local in Vegas Metro who participated in the security detail of the president. Others spoke with firsthand knowledge of the incident that unfolded that day. Several law enforcement officers on duty were informed over the radio that the president was dealing with an unspecified medical emergency. So when you have 6 officers on the Metro Las Vegas police that were on the detail saying this, far from the case of the sniffles, Schachtel reports, this was sent out on an encrypted police airwaves as if something akin to a 5-alarm fire had broke out. Our sources estimate it was easily hundreds of Las Vegas Metro officers and employees who heard the broadcast live. So a curious media shouldn't have any problems reporting follow-ups. Now look at this. While researching this story, we found that the local NBC affiliate in Las Vegas, KSNV, confirmed last week without much publicity that the University Medical Center, where they said he was going to be taken to, was on standby after being alerted about a possible medical issue with Joe Biden Wednesday afternoon. Now you have a local NBC affiliate. You have 6 officers. So now you have officials confirming, and you have a local NBC affiliate officially reporting it too. According to law enforcement officers, they said that dispatchers called for an immediate surge of enforcement resources to the area to expedite the president's removal. According to these law enforcement officers and these sources, president's motorcade initially planning on heading to the University Medical Center located 2 miles up the road from the president's position. Police answered the call, rapidly deploying in their in-the-box emergency squads to facilitate the reroute to the hospital. Wow, huh? The president's team decided not to bring him to the hospital. Plans changed in rapid succession. And then they flew him to Harry Reid Airport. I'm going to tell you something, because remember I told you this. This is so important. Listen to me. It struck me as freaking odd on Friday, okay, or maybe it was Thursday. I can't remember what day it was. All right, maybe it was Wednesday, but it struck me as odd as the White House correspondent. I remember her name. I mentioned her yesterday. I couldn't remember her name. Jackie Heinrich. She's, I believe, married to Peter Doocy, the other White House correspondent. But Jackie Heinrich, every freaking hour, who apparently was traveling with the president, said she was making a big deal of this. The plane flew back from Las Vegas to D.C. or wherever where he was going, so fast, way faster than any plane's ever gone before, and so fast the plane shook. And then look at this. It was then relayed off-duty to officers. They bring him to Harry Reid Airport. Emily Goodwin, the senior White House correspondent for the Daily Mail, reported that on the journey back east, Air Force One flew so fast the plane shook. The same thing the Fox News reporters shook. A simple COVID-19 positive COVID-19 test would not have warranted such a drastic, massive response. The dude that, remember his doctor's like, oh, he's fine. Oh, it's a little cold, a little sniffles and a little cough and a hoarse voice. Several officers that the dossier spoke to said this was indeed being reported and acted upon as a full-blown medical emergency, insisting a simple test, COVID positive 19 test would not have warranted such drastic, massive response. Okay. So look at this, you guys. And he just canceled 9 major events over the next 2 weeks. I presume, and I've got a listing of them all, but I presume, here we go. This is from the New York Post. I'll share what they all are, but here's my questions for you, okay? This is very serious. It's possible that Nurse Jill, or not a Dr. Jill, is signing the legislation now. She literally, I've been telling you, she's like Edith Wilson, Woodrow Wilson's wife, who literally did everything for him. He was a vegetable after a stroke, and he was in his bed. She would bring stuff to him, only the most important stuff. She ran the country. She admitted it gently in her autobiography afterward, after she was running the country for a year and a half, and the presidency was over. But the Smithsonian, I think it was, and NPR did in-depth report that said she was running the country. And I think Nurse Jill has been doing this. I swear to you. Do you think Joe Biden, here's my questions for you at 800-288-WBAP. Chime in right now, 800-288-9227. Do you think Joe Biden's health is rapidly deteriorating, or is he just quitting, quote unquote, by canceling his 9 scheduled appearances in the next few weeks? Do you believe Nurse Jill Biden is signing Biden's presidential documents? Do you believe that's possible? And do you think we're in a constitutional crisis right now because the cackling Kamala and the Democrats refused to remove him from office? I had a report yesterday. I told you they were considering the 25th Amendment. I literally had that report. The Democrats were. And do you think we're in a constitutional crisis right now and we don't know it? Do you want to have a congressional investigation of the cover-ups of Biden's health and who's really running our country? Because I was hearing Republicans call for that. I'm nervous about that. I don't know if they should do that because it might backfire and make them look horrible. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But he's got to resign. He's got to resign. This is a constitutional crisis because we have a vegetable in there who might be on his deathbed. We don't know. It might look okay, but he doesn't look okay either. Last question is, with the same Biden team, we just found this out today, the same Biden team is running Kamala's campaign. So then who's really running our country? It ain't Kamala and it ain't Joe. It's the same people. Who's running our country? 800-288-WBAP. Ken in Arlington, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP. What do you got?
I think he had a stroke because if you listen to him a couple of weeks ago from the debate until now, I think, and he's learned his speech even more, I think that's a sign of a stroke. And I think all the drugs they jacked him up with caught up with him.
So you think he had a stroke, like a big one or a little one? Probably a little one, I would guess.
A little one to make him, slur his speech because he always slurred his speech, but he's slurring it even more. He's talking slower and he's still not. He
looked. Did you see when he walked off the little boy stairs? He looked a freaking wreck. It was.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he had this weird look on his face. Maybe it was frozen up a little bit from a stroke. I don't know.
Well, COVID's not a medical emergency where they're going to fly you out. You're going to go to the doctor and you're going to be okay.
Nor is it a medical emergency where they triage you to rush you to a hospital.
Right.
Stroke is, you're right. That might be it. I don't know, brother, but thank you. And they're never telling us anything. They won't tell us nothing. This is bad. I have the audio. I'll be playing it for you next. Coming up from the Ruthless Podcast, and Josh Holmes saying that Nurse Jill is reportedly signing our laws now instead of him. That's her signature on there, not his, even though it says his name. That is next on the Chris Crock Show at News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. We got 3 lines open at 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP.
So I have heard, and I mean this sincerely, I have heard that he signed a bill recently, a significant one, where it may have been Ukraine something, where he signed it and it went, to be, it was sort of like framed up and what do they call that when they put
embossed,
embossed and whatever on it, and there were 2 signatures on it. It wasn't Kamala, it was Jill.
What? No, get out of here.
Yeah.
What?
I have heard verifiably.
Okay, someone has to track that down.
Verifiably, and this is where the Variety program, you tune in because we have this stuff, that he signed a bill of consequence to the United States of America lately, where he signed it, and then she signed it.
Do you think she wrote doctor?
I don't know.
I can't believe that. It's probably never happened in the history of our country.
What was Eleanor Roosevelt probably did, once or twice, but
it seems like the only parallel.
Or after Harding had his stroke, I guess. But so my question is that what she had to do to send money to Europe in order to? She's still going to Paris.
Yeah, she's still going to Paris, even though he's dead man walking. She wants to spend her money in jet set on our dime, of course, because that's who she is. That's Nurse Jill. My question is, do you think Biden's health is rapidly deteriorating, or is he just quitting? He canceled 9 upcoming appearances. Monday, West Coast, California, Denver, Houston, Austin, all canceled. There's several other ones he was going to do. He was supposed to leave today and start his West Coast trip. Houston Mayor John Whitmire anticipating him to discuss Hurricane Beryl recovery efforts. That's the administration of the country. That's not running for president. Our country is being we're being given the royal bone, the short shrift by our president. We don't have a president. And the same people running this administration are running Kamala's administration. No one's leaving. That report came out today. Who's running this country? Since the people, what do they call them? The bureaucrats are staying the same. Who is running this country? Isn't that a fair question? They're switching people with nobody voting for her. Who is running this country? Who is protecting us? Who is ensuring that Kim Jong-un doesn't invade Taiwan in the next 6 months with a vegetable, a far-gone vegetable, who may have had a stroke? We don't know. Who... they all participated in the world's the U.S.'s worst cover-up in our history. I have this 13-page Wall Street Journal article. I'll share pieces of it throughout the night with you. But the headline, I'm holding it up for my viewers on Facebook, at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show. How the bet on an 81-year-old Joe Biden turned into an epic miscalculation. Cover-ups, they report that this has been going on for 3.5 years. Diplomats, Democrats, congressmen. He never had a Congress meeting after Nancy Pelosi. Right here, it starts out 30 minutes of remarks on Capitol Hill. After that, Pelosi took over. She told the groups he left. She told the group she would articulate what Biden had been trying to say. It was the first time I remember people pretty jarred by what they had seen. Recalled Dean Phillips, Democrat from Minnesota. He's the one that ran against Biden. They shut him out. They rigged it. That was October 21. The journal says 2021. Nearly 3 years later, here we are at. This man's a vegetable. He has very good days and he has very bad days. I'm talking for 3.5 years now. And this is sickening what's been given to us, and we've been lied to. And Kamala is the chief conspirator. John, in Trophy Club, you've called in at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. I'm asking, John, do you think Democrats will want to replace Kamala in a month after we get a taste of her anew? If you were Trump, how would you debate her? Well, actually, no, that was something a little earlier. I want to ask the other question about, do you want to have a congressional investigation? Is this the same Biden running the campaign of the same people? Or we have a new, who's in control of this country since the same team's in there? And do you believe Nurse Jill is signing Biden's documents, presidential documents? Do you think his health is rapidly deteriorating? Hi, John. You're on WBAP. Hey.
Last time I spoke to you, you were talking about fathers and kiddos there.
Yes.
Good to hear from you. First off, I think the decline has been happening since 2020, so kudos to the paper there, because you could see a little bit of it evidenced in 2020 and the way that he never really came out during that. But came out to really campaign or any sizable campaigns.
Do you remember, by the way, when the Journal came out about 2-3 months ago with that groundbreaking story that he basically was totally deteriorated and gone, and like 24 or 45 people they interviewed all confirmed it on Democrat side and his staff and such, and they denounced it and said it was fake news?
Yes, and what I was going to say is, I mean, between this and what happened, unfortunately, to President Trump there, and let's not forget the firefighter that lost his life as well. But with everything coming out and unfolding, it just, to me, it shows that the cover-up is so exposed as far as what the media has been echoing and yelling, and anyone with a half a brain could have seen that this was a cover-up beginning in 2020, but as things have continued and how quickly the country declined and went so far to the left that obviously someone was pulling the strings, or some group really.
And remember, these are the same people that are in charge now for Kamala for the next 8 years if we vote her in.
Exactly. I mean, how she got $90 million in one day, and then another 150 in that other war chest?
Yeah.
So it was raised, 240
Well, she got 91 million from the war chest, and then the rest came in from all the money. And my buddy wrote today that it's not that she got tons of new enthusiasm and stuff. It's just that all the people withholding their money to Biden have now opened up the spigot because she might be able to win.
Exactly. But I still think that their only play is really to not have her open her mouth, because if she goes against Trump there, it's just, and if it were in a debate.
She is a tough debater. She called Biden a racist to his face, and then Biden picked her picked her like a month later, and everything was great. And she's never renounced the fact that she thought he sexually assaulted that woman, that Biden sexually assaulted that woman, and that Biden's a racist. So he just needs to go, when she calls him a sexual assaulter, that she's prosecuted that type before, he can just say, ma'am, Joe Biden has sexually assaulted people. You seem to back those things, and you've never retracted that. You called Joe Biden a racist. You never retracted that. So, Kamala, you say all sorts of stuff.
Right. And I think after seeing how the convention was, the Republican Party is pretty unified. I think from Democrats to Republicans, the ones that have not had their eyes open, I think that the last couple of months, I mean, I've been glued to this stuff since, I don't know, or mid right around Obama's first term there, and just paid attention to politics and have been real close, kept everything really close. But I think that people that normally just turn the news on and, okay, that's what I'm told, that's what I'm going to take, are now starting to see as the stories change. And then finally, what's her name? Cheadle. Finally, she finally.
Yeah, we're going to get into that next. I got to roll, but okay. I mean, they're watching it all unfold. Thank you, John. All right, up next, we're going to get into Kimberly Cheadle resigning. And who do you blame for the near assassination of Trump? And by the way, the more stunning stuff coming out today that has nothing to do with Cheadle that's really freaking bad. We are just beginning to learn. And is it possible they totally gave Trump the shaft for protection compared to Biden and Nurse Jill Biden and the cackler Kamala as vice president? All that's coming up next in the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all.